Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Nerd to the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. And with me, as always, this epic quest of nerdy awesomeness is our resident anime goddess, the Cat. Cat, how are you doing?
I'm alive! It's finally fall here. Like, it's been fall for a little while, but, like, it finally got under 90 degrees here, so I finally feel alive.
Yes, it's we're starting to see the temperature go down over in my neck of the woods too. It's finally like, oh, we can walk out the front door without spontaneously bursting into flames.
Yes, it's such a good feeling.
Oh yes, we don't need to buy the SPF 1 million sunblock anymore. Because you can't find that in your mom and pop pharmacy. You got to special order that shit, and it's like expensive. So. Anyway, and also with us is our from the European continent, Skyblaze. How are you doing this week?
Well, it has been raining here pretty much continually for the past month, and has been freezing. So I will cheerfully swap you because we've been getting flood warnings.
Oh, Cat knows all about those.
Oh yes.
We basically spent probably 5 months out of this year under flood warnings.
Yeah, it tends to happen when you live on the confluence of 5 different rivers.
It really says something when the DMV starts offering boating licenses. And Birdman, you're with us as well. How have you been?
Oh my god, the last few weeks have been utter dog shit, but I'm good otherwise.
All right. Well, glad that you're able to maintain a sense of humor, at least.
Oh my god, let me tell you, if it wasn't so tragic, it would be hilarious. So you know what? Just gotta keep pushing on through. It can't rain every day, and I'm pretty sure I've broken a mirror, crossed a black cat, and probably have some voodoo hex on me. So, I'm good to go. Let's rock and roll!
Don't you own a black cat?
I do, Dr. Wiley. Hi, kitty.
Because that's just that's not a pretentious name at all to give a black cat. Is name him after one of gaming's greatest villains.
He's so cuddly. He loves me.
All right, we got a fun show for you guys this week. This week we decided we would talk about something that we, believe it or not, have not yet covered, and that is geek music. We're going to talk about some of our favorite game cover bands, geek artists, and other such similar music, and beats that are bops and or slaps, as I believe is the current vernacular. I wouldn't know anymore, as I have now turned 33, which means I'm now above the trendy age group. So I must now retire to the undying lands. So board the ships to the Grey Havens. So yes, but in another birthday that we've had over the last couple of weeks is actually the show's birthday. We've actually been running for a full 10 years now, and wow.
Jesus Christ, really?
Fuck, yes.
Good God.
Our
But not
show's
like,
gonna hit
fuck,
Tubi
yes.
soon.
Like, fuck, yes? Ugh.
It's like, I'm going to be honest, when we first started out with just me, Cat, and Travis, I didn't think we'd even make it to 1 year, because we didn't know shit about what we were doing.
And we still don't.
No, but now we can at least make our sound quality not sound like crap, so...
Progress.
Like that's one of the things. Like people ask, like, where do we have an archive of all of our episodes? And it's like, we do, but why would you want to listen to them? They're so bad.
I mean, you can, but we don't want to have to apologize to that many people.
I think it wasn't until episode 200 that things finally clicked and we got our shit together, more or less.
That's a long time to go and also be garbage.
But in all seriousness, though, I mean, 10 years. It's been for me at least. It's been an amazing run. I've met a lot of really great people through my work on the podcast, and I've said before, and I'll say it again. But I consider everyone who works on the podcast with me. I mean, I love you guys like family. I really do. Like, you are as brothers and sisters to me. And so I want to say thank you to you guys for, following me on this crazy trail as long as you have. And thank you to our listeners for staying with us. So, 10 years. Wow. Here's to 10 more. And hopefully at some point we'll, actually, get our shit together and actually be good.
And if you have been with us since the beginning, like, sound off in the comments somewhere, because I'm curious as to who has stuck around this long.
That is a good question.
So,
which weirdos stopped it?
I haven't been around since the beginning, so you're doing better than me.
And be glad for it.
Actually, like that's you came in what? I want to say 2010, 2011, somewhere around there.
I think it was 2011. Yeah.
2011. Yeah, it was you, Tom, and Rue. I think. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
you guys came at the same time, and then Brian and John appeared a year later.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then we had that was when Cabo was our comic book guy. Yeah, because then he left. And we held auditions and we got Brian and John in, and then we pretty much maintained that lineup for most of our run. And then John left in 2016 due to personal reasons, and then Brian had to leave actually last year because of just his job taking up too much of his time. And so that's when we got Mike Dodd here with us. But he's actually been he was actually a frequent offender, a frequent guest of the show for several years before he became a regular.
Oh yeah, I just love podcasts and I love publicity. So, hey Mike, do you want to talk about shit? Yeah, sure. Do you know anything about it? Maybe.
So, but it's like I said, it's been a lot of fun doing the show, and I have no plans on stopping it anytime soon, and we're actually working on some other stuff down the pipe that we're really excited about. So thank you to all of our listeners for sticking around and staying with us as long as you have, and we hope you'll stick with us even longer, because like I said, we got some more stuff coming down the pipe. So again, thank you to you guys for staying with me on this, and thank you to the listeners for staying with us. So, but now that bit of sentimentality is away, and I wipe the soul tear from my eye that I allow myself every year, I allow myself a single tear and a single beat of my cold black heart. Let's get right down to it with Ask a Geek. So we got some questions here. So let's see here now. Okay. All right. So here's a neat question here. This one is for it's addressed to the Doctor Who fans among us, and the question is, what is your favorite TARDIS interior? And this one comes from Riley. So Skyblaze, let's start with you. What's your favorite TARDIS interior?
It was only used for a few episodes, but I really like the one that was used in Mask of Mandragora and Deadly Assassin. It was like a wooden themed one with brass railings and little flip down wooden panels. And it was absolutely gorgeous, and it looked amazing. But it was only used in a few episodes because in the break between seasons, it was stored wrongly, and all the wood paneling warped.
Oh no!
Which was an awful shame. But it's my favourite, even though it was only used in a few episodes. I quite like the one that was used for Paul McGann's TARDIS as well. Even though that was in the movie. Yeah.
In the movie, yeah, that's my favorite as well. So, with the pinball one from Matt Smith's first couple years coming in a very close second. Kat, what about you? What's your favorite TARDIS interior?
I genuinely have no preference. They are all weird. And I like them all. I really don't have a preference. I haven't seen enough variety. Because I haven't seen a lot of the older ones, so... yeah, I don't have one. Sorry.
Okay. And, Birdman, what about you? Do you have a preference, or do you even watch Doctor Who?
I do, actually. I've only seen a limited amount of the older stuff. I'd followed from the 2005 series forward, on and off. I'm big on the 9th Doctor stuff, because he was my first. So I really like the 9th and 10th Doctor's interiors, but much like Kat, I don't really have a preference. It's just... it gets the job done. Party on. So. Okay.
Alrighty. And then she's also got a secondary question here. Are there any classic series companions that you would like to see brought back for cameos in the modern series, the same way Sarah Jane Smith was? So, again, Skyblaze, let's start with you, because I'm sure you have a laundry list.
Ace, first of all.
I was going to say, it's Ace. It's just Ace.
It's Ace. It's always going to be Ace, because I love her to pieces. She is my hero. She beat up a Dalek with a baseball bat. Apart from that, Nissa would be quite cool to see again. Fifth Doctor companion, alien from another planet, stayed behind with some terminally ill people to take care of them and try and cure their illness. So that might be quite cool. If they could contrive a way for Romana to show up again, that would also be cool. But I don't know how they'd do it, since Gallifrey is currently in a time bubble. So, but yeah, those any of those would be cool, but mostly Ace.
Someone I'd like to see brought back, although they'd have to do it soon because her actress is old, and that's actually Susan, the Doctor's granddaughter.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So bring back the very first companion. What about you, Kat?
Gosh, I'm kind of basic. I really want the Doctor's daughter to come back.
Yeah.
Like, so bad. I know that was like a very short thing, but it was such a profound thing on the fandom. It's just like that's. I mean, I would obviously want Ace back, even though I've only seen like one of the serials with Ace. But
she's that good.
She's just so cool. But yeah, that and the Doctor's daughter would just be stupendous.
Okay. And Birdman, have you got any that you want to name, or have you seen any of the classic ones?
Doctor's daughter would definitely be a pick for me as well. But going with a more modern pick, I want Donna back.
So badly.
You and everyone else on the Earth.
She was so good. Like, at first, I didn't like her, but then I grew to love her as the series grew and grew. Although one companion, I will destroy someone if they ever bring her back. I hate Martha.
No! Get out!
I do. No,
Get
oh
out.
my lord. Holy shit, she was annoying.
Go away. You're fired.
No, the devil.
Okay, moving swiftly on.
Before a fight starts.
Let's see here now. Here's a question for me, and this one comes from Robert, and he asks, are there any consoles that I would like to collect for, but know that I never will? And there are two. One, because it's just so obscenely fucking expensive, and that's the Neo Geo.
Yep.
I just out of curiosity, I think I mentioned this on the show, I use an app called GameEye that pulls an aggregate value of what each item is worth. And I just idly look to see how expensive your average Neo Geo game is. And holy shit. Like, okay, let me just give you an idea. These are the top 5 most expensive games for the Neo Geo. And bear in mind, these are just loose. This is just for the game. This isn't for a complete in box or sealed. Okay, number 5, Samurai Showdown 5, $1,716.
Oh my god.
Number 4, Metal Slug X, $1,832. Number 3, Art of Fighting 3, Path of the Warrior, $1,856. Number 2, Metal Slug 2, an even $3,000.
Jesus.
That's a car!
And coming in at number 1, Neo Turf Masters at, brace yourselves, $11,283.
Why?
What?
If you buy this, I'm sorry, you are a loser. Nobody needs to buy this.
And here's what's really funny, okay? The top Metal Slug 2 and Neo Turf Masters, the two most expensive items, sealed in box as well, with a jump from $13,500 for Metal Slug 2 sealed to $50,774 for Neo Turf Masters sealed in box. Has your wallet jumped out of your pocket and run into the other room yet?
You just expect somebody to come up and be like, this belongs in a museum, and then run off with it.
That's deposit for a house.
Yeah,
what?
So...
Yeah, what kind of deranged asshole is buying this stuff?
Tony Stark? I can only guess.
I guess, because holy Christ.
Oh my god, but Tony Stark would do that. He would buy some really retro game to give it to Peter Parker for his adopted son's birthday.
That's true, yeah.
So
mystery solved. There we go.
And the irony is that the actual Neo Geo consoles aren't that expensive themselves. It's just the games that are just expensive as hell. But like, I would love to be able to collect for it because it's got so many neat games on it. But it's just like, you know, it's literally a choice between buying a game and do I eat this month? You know, maybe if I was making six figures a year, I might, you know, start a small one. But no, not able to do that. Although if you collect the arcade versions, those actually go for significantly cheaper than the home console versions, which is a strange reversal from how things normally are. The other one is one that I'd really like to collect for, but because it's just such a neat little device, but there's almost nothing I want to play for it, and that's the PS Vita. I actually just got a Vita again. It's an underappreciated little console. It is. It really is. It's such a fascinating little device, and there was just so much potential to it. But it's like, there's almost nothing for it that I want to play that I can't get elsewhere. Like, I know that, you know, Skyblaze has pointed out to me, I know that there's a homebrew scene, but that's just not enough for me to drop the money on the console. At least not the way it's priced right now.
How much do you think you'll be paying?
I think the last time I saw a Vita in a store, it was going used for about like $100, somewhere around there. You're
willing to buy 6 copies of fucking Pokemon, but you won't pay $100 for an entirely new console. So we're crystal clear here.
Here's the thing: I know I'm going to play Pokemon. I'm not going to buy a console that I don't know that I'm going to find anything to play on it. That's why my Xbox One is currently hovering on the knife's edge between do I keep it or do I sell it? Because there's almost literally I got the first game for it in like 6 months, and that's Borderlands 3 that I want to play for it. Because screw opening up another store account to buy it on PC.
See, you know, it's weird. Like, I'm surprised because you're an RPG guy. There are a lot of good RPGs on the Vita. I'm really surprised.
I tend to play more Western RPGs than JRPGs lately. Dragon Quest XI on the Switch and Xenoblade 2 are actually the first. And Persona 5. Those 3 games are the first JRPGs that I played in a very long time.
If you do pick up a Vita, and I recommend you do, Persona 4 Golden.
See, I already have Persona 4 on the PS2, and I've actually already started playing that, and I'm really enjoying it. So
I think you'd like the quality of life improvements that were made to it. But that's just my thing. I mean, I picked up my Vita new in box this past weekend, $50 with a game.
Did that come with a memory card?
You bet it did.
Okay.
Facebook Marketplace is a vastly underappreciated selling tool and buying tool because you'll get some people that don't know what they have. Fuck going to retail. Sure, it's guaranteed, but you find some great deals in the wild too.
All right, and Skyblaze, you're about to say something?
On a similar note, you know, what do you guys call the PC engine? Was it TurboGrafx over there?
Yeah.
Yep. Would you like to know how much a second-hand boxed copy of the PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 goes for in the UK?
How much?
Between £300 and £500.
Jesus.
Ouch. Yeah. And that's for the console itself?
That's for the console itself. I've seen controllers by themselves go for £50 or more.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's a few things like that because I remember you telling me that the 32X is a pretty priced item over there too, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it was only available over here for like a month before it was discontinued. So.
Wow.
It was more than, I'm exaggerating for effect, but it wasn't very long.
I mean, it may as well have been, given how badly it did over here. So, all right, and let's see here now. Let's see, another question here. Let's find a nice, easy one here. Okay, all right. Here's a good one. This one here comes from Eileen, and she asks all of us with Halloween coming up. What are some of our favorite movies to watch around Halloween time? Kat,
boy.
Kat, let's start with you on this one.
Okay, so besides the obvious, everyone has to watch Hocus Pocus. Gosh.
Which I've never seen, actually.
Okay, look, you also get out. All of you are fired. It's just going to be me and Skyblaze from now on. Unless Skyblaze hasn't seen it, in which then she is also fired.
Of course I've seen it. I've seen it many times.
Well, like last year, if you listen to our show, you know, like I did nothing but watch a bunch of Stephen King movies. So I get like, I like Hocus Pocus, but then I don't own a lot of scary movies. Or a bunch of Halloween movies, so I might pull up like Halloween episodes of Buffy, or I'll just pick the closest thing that I have to a scary movie, and sometimes that's The Mummy. So I'll put on like The Conjuring, but
Brendan
then I also
Fraser
have
or Tom Cruise?
Obviously Brendan Fraser.
The Tom Cruise movie is dog shit.
The Tom Cruise movie is frightening for entirely different reasons from the Brendan Fraser version.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, for example, they don't have to put Brendan Fraser on a box to make him look as tall as everyone else. So anyway, I'll throw on like my scary movies like The Conjuring, and that's it. Then I'll also throw on like Cabin in the Woods, and then stuff like The Mummy and Hocus Pocus, and that's about it, really. Oh, I do have one movie. It's not a Halloween movie. It's not even a scary movie. It's just a movie that I have people over at Halloween and I go, oh, this asshole hasn't seen The Lost Skeleton of Cadabra. You have to go see this movie now. And then I'll make somebody watch that movie. And if you've never seen The Lost Skeleton of Cadabra, you have to go see it now.
Okay. All right. Skyblaze, what about you?
There's not that many horror movies that I tend to watch. If I can, I don't have a physical copy of it, so if I can find a copy of Wes Craven's New Nightmare, then I tend to watch that. I also try and do a playthrough of Eternal Darkness every October. Just, I love that game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. There aren't a lot of horror time for. The original Alien and the first Saw are pretty much the only ones. Although occasionally I'll also throw in the original black and white Night of the Living Dead, just for nostalgia's sake. I tend to play more horror video games in the month of October. Some of my favorites that I like to play through are Silent Hill 2, specifically the Xbox version, because I can turn off that goddamn fog effect, that fog filter that they put over the picture, which just annoys the hell out of me on the PS2 version. Let's see, the Resident Evil remake on the GameCube, that's another favorite. Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly, which I've never been able to finish. I'll get a half hour in and then I'll just completely puss out on it because the Japanese are fucked up with their horror. And let's see, and then some more recent favorites, Alien Isolation, and then I'm thinking the Resident Evil 2 remake is gonna find its way into my October rotation because that's a really fun, scary one.
I really should replay Resident Evil 7 in VR, but I can't. I can play it for like 20 minutes before I'm like, nope. My adrenaline glands cannot take this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I've played Resident Evil 7, but I won't play it in VR. And just like I'm not going to play Five Nights at Freddy's in VR because I just my laundry bill is high enough as it is, and I'll just leave it there. Birdman, what about you? Favorite movies to watch around Halloween time?
Oh God, where do I start? Okay, one of my favorite movies to watch around this time of year is a 1987 or 86 movie called Night of the Creeps with Fred Decker. Same guy who did Monster Squad and, depressingly, RoboCop 3, but it's amazing. Tom Atkins is a fucking boss. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Its biggest flaw being that it's titled Halloween 3. If you called it Season of the Witch, would have been way more successful at the box office. Let me see what else. Reanimator, because it's amazing. It's Barbara Crampton amazingness. You'll know what I'm talking about when I say it's the head giving head scene. Night of the Comet is another favorite of mine, Stuart Gordon's Dolls, and this predates Chucky by about a year or two. Let me see. Another one that I'm a huge fan of is the Creepshow movies, which, speaking of Creepshow, if you have the service Shudder in your country, they just launched a new Creepshow series, which is an anthology horror series. It's really good so far. There's 2 or 3 episodes available now. There's a television series that was in the early aughts called Masters of Horror. So you got Mick Garris, Toby Hooper, Wes Craven before he passed away, doing little hour-long horror movies. They're all really good. Amazing practical effects, some digital, but mostly practical. John Carpenter's The Thing, They Live. Oh my God, I could literally talk for hours, but because I know we don't have time, one thing I want to recommend, they just came out with a documentary. We just talked to the guy on Twig yesterday. So if you go to 80shorrordoc.com, there's a documentary that's 4.5 hours long called In Search of Darkness, and it talks about the 80s horror genre. So you got Kelly Maroney, Barbara Crampton, John Carpenter, Joe Dante, Corey Taylor from Slipknot for some fucking reason, Kane Hodder, all talking about 80s horror movies, and it's one of the best documentaries I've seen since Crystal Lake Memories, His Name is Jason, and Never Sleep Again. It's fucking fantastic.
And of course, we're going to talk about horror anthology series. I can't let that pass without mentioning my favorite horror anthology series, Tales from the Crypt, which I downloaded the whole series of that because it's not on DVD fucking anywhere.
But it's prohibitively expensive.
And I've been just loving the shit out of it. So,
Good
all right.
boy.
But that's all the Ask a Geek questions that we have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending them in. As always, you can send them to us through the email at drgonzo@nerdtothethirdpower.com. We love getting your questions, love reading them on the air, so go ahead and get your questions in. We just might read it. And so, with that, we are now going to jump into the meat of this episode, where we discuss our geek music taste. So we've talked a bit about the kind of music that we listen to before on the show, but it's always been stuff that's been, kind of quote-unquote mainstream, the heavy metal artists and stuff that me and Kat like to listen to, or pop artists, but we never really delved real deep into geek type music, stuff like game cover bands, or anime tribute bands, or stuff of that nature. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of shed a light on that scene and talk about some of the geek jams that we listen to. And Skyblaze, you actually have a unique perspective on this topic. So why don't we start with you on this one? What sort of a geek music scene are you into?
Some of you probably know, but I, as well as doing this podcast, I also do a weekly show for Radio Sega. Now, Radio Sega has been around for quite a long time. It's like 12 years, I think, at least at this point. No, 12 or 13 years. And you can find them on radiosega.net if you are curious, and they have a 24/7 stream of Sega-related music. So it's mostly stuff published by Sega or Atlas. But we also have weekly shows. So I have access to the Radio Sega database, which means I have access to all of the music that Sega have produced, pretty much. Not all of it, but most. And I have discovered in my time of being with Radio Sega just how much incredibly good stuff is in that library. And just by listening to the shows and just how creative the community is. Because not only do you have the original game music, you've also got the remixes and new compositions. And then you get dragged into places like Overclock Remix and Dwelling of Jewels, and then you lose days. And your internet bill goes, what the hell? Explain? Because you've downloaded all this music. But don't say I didn't warn you.
Okay, so what are some of your favorites that you've come across?
Well, if you do decide to delve into Overclock Remix, they've got several albums on there, and there's a bunch of Sonic-related ones. And Project Chaos, which is the Sonic 3 and Knuckles album, is probably one of my favorites. Another one that I discovered is the Echo the Dolphin Mega CD music, which is done by composed by a guy called Spencer Nilsson, who also did the music for the American soundtrack for Sonic CD. And it is one of the most relaxing, soothing, ambient soundtracks I've ever listened to. I play it in the bath just to chill myself out. It's amazing. So yeah, that's worth listening to. The F-Zero GX soundtrack, also brilliant. Tracks like Digiboy and the remix of Big Blue and Mute City and the Captain Falcon theme, they're all amazing. If you can get hold of the GX theme, it's absolutely brilliant. There was speaking of Echo the Dolphin, there was a remix album called Soundwaves that was released by various people a few months ago, and that's also absolutely worth listening to. There's an absolutely amazing remix of Medusa's Vents by a band called Random Encounter, and that sounds like something done by a prog rock band. It's brilliant.
Okay, all right. So what kind of sound do you tend to look for when you look for your geek music?
It depends, because my taste in music is quite eclectic. I quite like the chiptune stuff, the stuff that's been composed on a Commodore 64 SID chip or on a Game Boy or something similar. There's a few bands of that nature I can recommend as well. Specifically Bit Shifter, they're brilliant. Trash 80, Saber Pulse, Rainbow Dragon Eyes. That's kind of chiptune metal. So there's heavy metal influence in there as well, which is glorious. The one that you've probably all heard of is Anamanaguchi,
who just put up a pre-order for a new album today.
Oh, did they? I hadn't heard that.
Comes out in November.
Cool. So they're all worth checking out. Bit Shifter are my favourite, and they're actually doing a gig here in Sheffield at the end of this month, which I'm very excited for. And unexpected as well, because they're based in New York, so I've no idea what they're doing in Sheffield, but I'm not going to complain.
Alrighty, okay. And Kat, since you've been so long in the con scene, I'm sure you've come across some interesting geek music acts. Any that particularly caught your ear?
Well, yes. It's funny because I've been sitting here trying to think about what I wanted to talk about because I'm the one who suggested this topic. And then I came in and I was like, my brain, it is gone. I don't know what I want to talk about. I must have thought of something that made me want to suggest it. But at the moment, see, here's my problem. Is I'm in the con scene, yes, but it's anime conventions. So a lot of what I see are either chiptunes artists, which is not really my thing. I've seen a lot of Japanese artists and bands over the years, but my music taste has not really changed. So I am that 90s anime fan who is still listening to OSTs from the 90s. I haven't updated to new anime OSTs. It's just stuff from the 90s and 2000s. So I'm like, oh, hey, I have a Sorcerer Hunter soundtrack. And then I shake my head at how much that dates me.
Well, nothing wrong with an appreciation for the classics.
Yeah. But actually, I was thinking about this, and one of the things that I really, really enjoy, that I think is kind of nerdy, it's a little bit mainstream, but also pretty nerdy, is actually YouTube cover artists. And I'm thinking along the lines of the Jonathan Youngs and the Peter Hollands and the Caleb Hiles. And Caleb Hiles is somebody that we book at my convention every year, and he is so insanely popular. We put him in the main stage, and it's we're about to break the fire code because so many people want to come see him, and then he does an autograph session afterwards, and it's it takes 3 hours to get through the crowd. It's insane how popular this guy is.
So what kind of sound does he have for those of our listeners who haven't heard of Caleb Hiles? Because I've heard of Caleb Hiles, but I don't know if all of our listeners have.
Right. So him and then guys like Jonathan Young tend to do rock or metal covers. of very either popular songs that are really relevant right now, or just straight up like Disney. And it's so much fun, especially when they record together. Just to hear these cool versions of songs that we might otherwise dismiss as childish or girly or just Disney, to have these nice covers. And I realize, in the last couple of years, how much I just love it, because it's something that we can immediately identify. We know all the lyrics too already, but it's just a new spin on something. And obviously covers aren't new. Covers are not a new or unique thing, but the way that these guys are doing covers, especially like Jonathan Young, who will actually play all of his own music, he will sit there and he'll play either a piano or a keyboard and also a drum kit and a guitar and do vocals. The amount of effort that they're putting into these things and the way that they're able to build careers off of it is just unbelievably impressive to me. It's something that a lot of people dream of doing, and not everybody has the right skill or marketing or whatever to get it done. And then again, the music's just highly, highly enjoyable. I could just listen to it all day. I could just listen to Jonathan Young's Disney covers all day. And then any cover that they do that's for a musical, I think, is an extra level of nerdy.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of music, geek music YouTubers as well. Some of my favorites that you haven't mentioned, Family Jules, he does a lot of heavy metal game remixes. My favorite one of his is called Replay. It's like a history of gaming music. It's 17 minutes long, and he's playing little snippets of themes from various video games, from Pac-Man all the way to The Last of Us. And it's all in chronological order, and it's he just segues between themes so seamlessly. It's amazing. Another one that I really like, a frequent collaborator of his, Adriana Figueroa. I know I'm butchering her last name. I'm sorry, but she has got just such a beautiful voice, and she actually did a 3 collabs recently with Family Jewels, singing Butterfly from Dance Dance Revolution, The Edge of Dawn from Fire Emblem Three Houses, and Pollyanna from Earthbound, which are all really great really great covers. Look those up if you get the chance. Another one that let me look up the guy's name that I listen to is Scar Productions, spelled Skar. He does a lot of really good stuff. My favorite piece of his is his heavy metal cover of Weight of the World from Nier Automata.
Oh wow. Wow, I like that song.
Yeah, I've actually got a few heavy metal remixes of that song. Let's see. On a similar vein, let me see if I can find it here in the YouTube list. I don't know if he does a whole he makes a regular thing about this, but another remix of Weight of the World is done by Shin ZM Music, and that one actually uses the vocals from the OST set to a heavy metal soundtrack, as opposed to Scar, who sings himself. Let's see. You mentioned Jonathan Young. There was another Disney cover artist that I listened to on the regular. Trying to remember his name, but I can't seem to find it. I'll tell you someone else. I'll tell you a couple of other artists that I've really just kind of started adding my Spotify list if they were on Spotify. Frost Studio Chamber Sonic is a relatively new channel. They don't have a whole lot of stuff there, but they do an epic orchestral cover of "Let It Go" from Frozen that is just grabs you and doesn't let go. I absolutely love it. And then I've also fallen in love with the singing voice of Christina V. I first discovered her from the Shantae Half Genie Hero soundtrack. She sang the title track, "Dance to the Danger," and she's actually done a bunch of anime and video game songs on her YouTube channel. And she did a collaboration with, I can't remember the guy's name because it's on his channel. But if you search Christina V Bad Apple, she sings an amazing cover of that song from Toho, and it's just I absolutely love her singing voice. So.
I actually have a friend who's really obsessed with Christina V, and every time I get into a bar, it's always playing. Bad Apple is always playing. I'm like, dude.
I don't know what it means for a song to slap, but I can tell you that song slaps.
One of my favorite cover artists, as I mentioned earlier, is Peter Hollins. But very specifically, I mean, he does lovely covers, but my favorite covers of his either the Game of Thrones covers that he does, because he has such a great voice for them, but also, if you didn't know, he has an entire album that is covers of songs from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And if you didn't know, I really love Lord of the Rings, like, just so much. And to have, like, first off, just, like, one very unified album where you can just, like, get all of the songs and it's all just one person singing them and still sounding just really amazing and different, and including, like, every song that ever got featured in the movies anywhere is so nice. It's such a nice album. I bought it on disc.
And then just a couple last mentions before I turn Mike loose, because he's just, like, straining at the chains here because he's got, like, so much to talk about. I also listen to some game cover bands that I really enjoy. Arm Cannon, I think, is my personal favorite. I've got all their stuff. Let's see, Mini Bosses, they're really great. And then there's actually a band that they haven't put out an album in a while, but we actually had their band leader as a guest on this show years and years ago. This Place is Haunted, who they have kind of the indie rock sound to them that they do some game cover music that's really cool. That's actually one of the few episodes we've done that I really, like, honestly, truly regret, because at the time we recorded that episode, I had just been hit by a car 2 days previously, so I spent that recording vacillating between being in incredible agony and being high as fuck on painkillers. So yeah, if you want to listen to a Gonzo when he's hopped up on drugs, go listen to that episode. But now, Birdman, in your travels, you've run across many awesome musical acts. So why don't you regale us with some of your favorites?
Oh my God, where do I begin with this? This is a topic I've been looking forward to since we talked about it a while back. One of my best musical experiences I've ever had is I was at PAX East 2010, the first PAX East, and I saw a little band called the Proto Men.
Yes.
I did not know who these people were going in the PAX. Since then, I've become obsessive. So to set the stage for you, imagine, if you will, a rock opera, sort of in the same vein as Queen, that epic, powerful sound, really intense vocals, an amazing array of artists and performers. Now take that formula, add Mega Man to it, and imagine a story playing out over the course of 2 albums right now and some side projects, Acts 1 and 2, telling the story of Dr. Thomas Light and his creation, Rock, the betrayal of Proto Man. And I saw these people perform, and I had been absolutely mesmerized by this. I saw them at MagFest 2011, and they played Acts 1 and 2 back to back, one on Friday night, one on Saturday night. I've never cried at a concert. I did, because they did a cover that night of Separate Ways by Journey and Queen, Princes of the Universe. And it was it was a religious experience to hear them play that. I was just so enthralled. So the Proto Men, astonishing band. They actually just had a song drop into Rock Band 4 this past week. They had This City Made Us, which came out in 2015, which is the prelude song to Act 3, which will presumably come out next year. So go download that in Rock Band 4. They also have Light Up the Night, which is their most well-known track, I would argue.
Because it's amazing.
And the music video.
Now, quick question. Because I've never listened to the Proto Men. Does their music, like, remixes of Mega Man, of songs from the game, or is it original stuff with a Mega Man story to it? Okay,
all original, and it's phenomenal. But speaking of bands that take the Mega Man themes and remix them, the Megas, another band I'm obsessive with. That's
a band I have heard of, and I love them. Annihilation of Monsteropolis is my favorite song of theirs.
Same here. I've been listening to them since I saw them perform at MagFest. And I always tag them on stuff on Twitter. I sing their praises up and down. Their history of repeating Red and Blue are phenomenal albums based on Mega Man 3. Hopefully, they did some Castlevania stuff last year. Their cover of Vampire Killer is really cool. But the thing that I'm most known for, if you're a longtime fan of Twig, I'm a nerd rapper. well, not me particularly, but I'm a love nerd rap. I saw MC Frontalot, who's old school. We're talking 2000 something, like early 2000s with Song Battle and all that shit. And he is an amazingly smart guy who raps about algebra, D&D, and like natural disasters, and it's just phenomenal wordcraft and wordplay that he does. Another guy who is nominated for a Grammy this year, I think, Mega Ran. He used to be a teacher out of Philadelphia, and now he travels the world rapping about pretty much anything. He actually released a Final Fantasy VII inspired album, taking the themes from the games and making raps out of it. He actually did a song specifically with me in mind, based upon Red 13. He worked with a guy called The Ranger out of Australia to create an extended remix of that. And I told him this is one of my favorite songs he's ever done. And he's like, yeah, Mike, I totally did this with you in mind. So that's really fucking cool. Another guy on YouTube is another guy called JT Machinima. And he also does video game type raps. He'll just pick a game and rap about it for 5 minutes. Highlight tracks are We Are One, which is about the Mass Effect series. Forsake Me Now, which is Assassin's Creed Rogue. He does an entire series, which is like 6 videos now, about Five Nights at Freddy's. And they're really well done. I'm actually looking at my Spotify playlist right now. Another guy from England is a rapper called Dan Bull. Phenomenal artist. He's probably most well known for his Skyrim rap, which was all over YouTube when Skyrim first came out. Let me see. I'm just looking at my list here because it's huge. Kirby Crackle is another one. They're like a nerd rock band. Let me see. Oh, Jesus, man. Oh, there was something that Skyblaze mentioned about video game albums. And this was on OC Remix a long time ago. And then it was put on an official Capcom release. It was called Blood on the Asphalt.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a Street Fighter album. Phenomenal stuff there. Oh, man. Shit. I'm trying to think of what else I want to tell you about. Sorry. I just filled the cup. What else can I say?
We've actually jogged my memory on a couple other artists that I listened to that haven't gotten mentioned yet. And that needs to be fixed. Miracle of Sound.
Yes.
Big time game music YouTuber, writes original music that's themed around games. Some standout tracks: Hell to Pay for Doom 2016, Force of Nature for Horizon Zero Dawn, and Nordmead for Skyrim. That's actually the one where I discovered him. And then there's another artist who does stuff mostly centered around Nintendo games. Mando Pony, my favorite song of his is Turning Over a New Leaf for Animal Crossing. Because I like Animal Crossing. Shut up.
Speaking of that, on Radio Sega every Sunday, one of our show hosts, Rexy, who is also an OC Remix contributor herself, she's done quite a number of compositions. She does a show called Sega Mixer Drive, where she she goes through music that's been produced by the community. So OC Remixers, Dwelling of Jewels, various YouTube artists, and she produces a show highlighting some of the best stuff that they've produced. And she will do things like the Source Roulette, where she will take a game or a track and just do a whole bunch of and highlight a whole bunch of remixes from that game or based on that track. So if this is the sort of thing you're into, then I recommend tuning into her show, because you'll probably find some stuff you might like.
This was something I discovered rather recently. One of my friends, Shannon, took me down the YouTube rabbit hole last weekend, and I discovered something really friggin' weird, but I really, really dig it. Evidently, there's something known as pirate metal. There's a group called Ailstorm.
Ailstorm.
Yes. Yep. Ailstorm, and then who did? There's another one. They have a song called Under Jolly Roger. Running Wild. They're another pirate metal band.
I was so surprised that this subgenre exists, and I'm happy that it does. So you should check out their stuff. Fucked by an Anchor is amazing, and the song Drink.
Yes.
So yeah, that's fun. Another group I just recently discovered was called Unleash the Archers, I think is her name, or their band name. Another thing I like to, there's a channel on YouTube, and it plays retro synthwave stuff, which is very geeky, very, if you like that 80s John Carpenter sound, if you like Laserhawk, I think the channel's called Primetime Thanatos. It's really cool. It sounds like shit you'd hear like out of Snatcher or something like that. It's just really, really, really neat. And I guess not geeky per se, but if you dig his stuff, honestly, the guy who did the Halloween movie, John Carpenter, composes the soundtrack for like 90% of his own movies. He's phenomenal stuff. So yeah, that's something you should probably check out. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about.
I've just remembered one that I do want to talk about. There's a band called Star One, which is a side project for a fairly famous European metal artist, whose name I have temporarily forgotten because my brain is garbage. But Star One have done at least 2 albums. I think there's at least 2 albums. There might be 3 now, but there's at least 2, where they produce songs about various sci-fi franchises and properties. So they've got one for Star Wars, there's one for Star Trek 4 specifically, there's one for Stargate, there's one for Aliens, there's one for Blake 7, which is actually really, really good, and it's also Blake 7 is also where the band name comes from. They also did one for Doctor Who, and their stuff is all like progressive metal type sound, and it's absolutely brilliant. And there's some heavy metal influence as well. So I recommend checking those out because they have some absolutely amazing stuff. Their interpretation of the Blake 7 story is absolutely brilliant.
Okay. Kat, what about you? Any other groups or artists you'd like to talk about?
On the topic of like pirate metal and stuff, I have a soft spot for Renaissance Festival performers.
Cool.
You know, there's a group who they're not based out of St. Louis, I think, but they perform at the Ren Fair here every year, called the Musical Blades, and they do like comedic pirate shanties and stuff. That's just, I know a lot of the lyrics now, and I haven't seen them that often, so they're like really, really catchy tunes. And then I just saw something the other day that was like, now that's what I call sea shanties. And I was like, oh my god, I have to get this album.
Wow.
Because I'm at D&D right now, we're doing a Salt Marsh campaign, and we're on a boat, and we're like hanging out with pirates and shit, and I'm like, oh no, my life is going to be sea shanties from now on.
That just made me think, random tangent. I was playing Assassin's Creed 4 when the game first came out, and I used to just listen to the sea shanties, and my wife Blair would sing the sea shanties back at me. She's like, I fucking hate you! I'm so sick of fucking sea shanties! Get off the goddamn boat! She got really, really mad with me, and even now, if I so much as look at Assassin's Creed 4, she'll be like, no playing that for you. See?
Wow.
I will kill you.
See? She gets really angry. But anyway.
I'd listen. She sounds scary.
Excuse me. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're kind of running short on time here.
Oh, one final band I want to recommend. It's a group called I Fight Dragons. They do the theme song to the Goldbergs TV show. They're kind of chiptune rock, but they're really cool too. You should check them out.
Okay, and of course we'll try and put links, YouTube links to as many of these artists as possible below the video feed, so you can check some of these people out. So yeah, those are some of the geek music that we listen to. What about you, our listeners? What are some geek music that you listen to that you think we'd enjoy that we ought to check out? So go ahead and sound off in the comments. See if you can add to our ever-growing Spotify lists. So yeah. But that is about all the time that we have for Nerd to the Third Power this week. Thank you as always for tuning in. We will see you guys in 2 weeks for our Halloween episode where we discuss supernatural horror, ghosts, goblins, demons, and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. So we shall see you in 2 weeks. Thank you as always for tuning in. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm the cat.
I'm Skyblaze.
Fart noise.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Taka, play us out.